Hey, I'm on time. Good evening, everybody. My name's Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. Not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about Christianity, talking about my takes on it, my faith in God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. As a person who has been a Christian all my life, I'm a non-denominational Protestant. Don't really subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word every day, trying to be better, trying to live a life closer to God. So, if you are new to Christianity, interested in Christianity, looking for something more to life than just what's going on here on this planet, um, welcome to the show. Hope you get something out of this. Use me as some sort of way to infer what being meeting an average Christian should look like, and that would be a person who has character traits that are good and some that are bad. They're going to be right about things. They're going to be wrong about things. We're no different from anybody else. However, it is that we put our faith in God. That He is our Creator and our Savior, and the source of all that is good in this world. So if you can get anything well out of this, I'd be very appreciative of it. If you are already a Christian and you just like tuning in and listening to Christian content and Christian opinions, well, glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Hope you get something good out of this. And by all means, be in the chat, whether you believe or not. Get in the chat and let us know what your takes are on these things as we go through it. We treat this very much like a small group that you would see on Sunday school or Wednesday night study group. That's just the community we have right here. It's about I'd say about a dozen or so people. Some are regulars, some pop in and out, and I'm glad to have them all here. And they give their opinion on things, just like I give mine on mine. I'm just running the show. And that's what I'm here to do. So tonight's going to be the conclusion of this week. I will not be streaming Thursday or Friday. It'll be the conclusion of this week, and we are going to go out. We're going to go out taking judges with us. So this one's going to be a long stream because we're doing 3 chapters and they're 3 long ones. So I figure we'd start next week off with Ruth, which is such a good book. Such a good book. Ruth is so great. We're going to have a good time with that. Not that we're not having a good time with all the other ones. However, I'm trying to get I want it next week to have some guests in it. I have some guests and things. So we were talking last night about the church incident. And one of the other things came up because it was a discussion that was going on. This is outside. It was a topic that came up as a result of the news. And the question is, how close can men and women be as friends? Where do we draw the line? What is the appropriateness of friendship, and how do we define it? And there was a lot of discussion, a lot of people putting their takes out there, and a little bit of argument. Nothing really too heated. Just some friendly disagreement. I wasn't really taking part in it, but this morning I was looking at some people who were that I follow, and that they were all kind of giving their takes on it. And I said, look, I think if we all were face to face and not trying to type out all of our thoughts, we would probably be landing somewhere in the same area of each other. And one of them is Remy Shepherd from Lutheran Answers, and so I asked him if he would be able to come on. I was open for him coming on tonight, but it just wouldn't work with his schedule. It was very last minute, but he said sometime next week. Love to get him on, just to get him on the channel and get you guys kind of exposed to him. I actually haven't had a face-to-face conversation with him, but he's good people. He's got a soul, a spirit for the Lord, and that's always good to have him on. And yeah. That'll be great. And I'm either going to have him or Hans on to really introduce Lutheranism as they see it and discuss it, its history, why they are Lutheran, maybe why you should be Lutheran, what to expect, answer any questions if any of y'all have any, and go from there. So, and us as if you're a Protestant tuning in, and I think the impression I get is most of us are going to church. The Lutheran Church is the original Protestant church. It's the original Protestant church, and so it's interesting, kind of just to go back to your roots, and find out what it's all about, where it came from, and Lutherans are generally pretty knowledgeable about their church history. You'll find they're pretty knowledgeable. Orthodox is pretty knowledgeable, and Roman Catholics will be pretty knowledgeable. The folks that are really deep into their studies, and you'll just find it just a cultural thing. That's not to say that you won't find Calvinists / Presbyterians or Anglicans or Baptists who don't study church Christian history. But it just seems to be more of a cultural thing that within that church, they're doing more of that study. And that's why I say in the church, because again, you'll run into a lot of folks who on social media who claim to be Orthodox. They don't go to an Orthodox church. A lot of LARPing. So if you do have an interaction with somebody who's Orthodox, who claims that they're Orthodox on social media, take it with a grain of salt. They may not actually be who they say they are. They may just be saying, "Oh, I like what Orthodox teaches. I like what they stand for. I like the fact that they tend to be very based, which are all great things about Orthodoxy. But that doesn't mean that they're studying it and they've really grabbed onto things, and doesn't mean that they're taking Christianity into their heart like an Orthodox person would if they were going into the church and learning more about this. And that's the same thing here. Look, and I'm not saying that anybody who's learning or reading the Bible isn't taking Jesus into their heart just because they're not going to church. But it's something I hope that if you're not going to church, you're actively working towards it, right? This is about starting a relationship. You can't have a relationship. Look, try having close personal friends and you never go to their house. Try having a relationship with a relative and you never go to their house. It's kind of what it is. You can have church everywhere, anywhere, and there's scripture behind that. But there is something to be said for meeting with other Christians and studying the Word and having it organized. So I know a lot of people, and I used to be in that camp too, don't like organized religion, don't like trusting it. Trust me when I say this. When you're going to a place that's based in the fundamentals, it recenters you. It puts you on the right path. It keeps you from drifting. And then you need to be part of help keeping that from drifting as well. So hope you guys are all doing well tonight. It's Wednesday. Week's half over. We're going into Labor Day weekend. May or may not stream on Monday. I think I'm probably not going to stream because I think thinking we're having a family gathering at our house. So if it's going anywhere near late, I'm probably just going to be just a little zapped about it. So we'll see. I know Nico, that's going to add more days to it. But Nico's first, Dresden coming in second, and not getting apparently a welcome back from Nico. Nico, I wore this shirt because I told you I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirts. Alias is third, missed yesterday for family obligations. So no big deal, man. Family obligations are family obligation. And I think I said this yesterday, might have been the day before. It's like, look, a lot of people don't go to a small group setting like we kind of do it here every single day. It's something once out of the week or so, and it lasts about the same time that one of these episodes lasts. And some of that time is spent just, hey, what's going on? How's everything going? It's great. It's great. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about don't worry about missing an episode or not. You can always go back and read the text that we covered yourself, or listen to the stream on the back. I mean, that's also great. It's more views for me. Um, so, um, and I should have done this. I need to remember to do this in my intro more, is the like and subscribe. If you like the channel, like it, subscribe to it, hit the notifications. I know most of you guys are anyway already. And here's the other thing. Share it with somebody a friend, a family member, somebody you know that might be interested in the content, might be seeking out Christ, but they're like, I don't want to go to church, because those guys are all weird. And yeah, maybe we're weird. I'm not saying I'm not, but maybe we're not weird in the same way that would make somebody uncomfortable to be around them. And that's the thing. Sometimes there's such pressure put on people when they go into church, because there's the expectation there. There's or it's always sunny in Philadelphia, because of the implication. Ayla is saying hi to Dresden, so he feels good. I'm saying hi to Dresden. Nico says, maybe the questions to start, is it even possible to have a genuine friendship between a man and a woman? I do believe so. I have friends with women, genuine friend. Friendliness in friendship should always be, if you're going to express it, you should try to make it as genuine as possible all the time, right? I know that and I'm terrible at this. A lot of times I'm polite, and I'm polite and nice to people that rub me the wrong way. And I don't do a good job. Hiding that I might not like them all that much. And sometimes I'm just socially awkward. It's difficult sometimes to tell the difference, but I try to do that with honesty all the time, to be as much as possible with people, so that they know where I stand on things. So if somebody feels uncomfortable, hey, do you like me? I was like, yeah, I don't think we get along that well. I've told this to people before. Look, you seem like a decent person, but our personalities just don't mesh up that well. And I don't want you to take it as I think you're a bad person. I just think that you are a person that I don't get along with. We don't see eye to eye. Our personalities grind against each other. I try to be honest with people about that. It's like, not that I don't want you around, and not that I don't want, I don't think you should go to church or come to work or wherever setting we're in. But, look, those are my feelings, and you shouldn't, get bent out of shape over what my feelings are. Be happy that I'm being honest with you. People I really have a problem with, I don't talk to them. So, anyway, Dresden, oh, you are here. Thanks. It truly means the world to me, from Dresden. JK, you're originally. I don't need a welcome back, Law. You're always welcome. Everybody's singing Kumbaya yet. Oh, that's so great. Thank you. Glad for it. Glad that everybody loves each other and is holding hands. But to the friendship, yeah. I mean, I have to go back to your original statement, Nico. Yeah, they can be. But there are, you have to naturally know where the boundaries are, right? And I think that there used to be good social taboos before that, right? And that's something that we'll talk about when I bring Remy on, because I think Remy's kind of in the same camp as me. But like I said, most of the people talking about it, and I think once you really get down to it, the people who are very real and know how the world works pretty much land on the same spot, right? So, Alias, nice shirt. Truly a little jealous. Have to up my game. Look, Kohl's, I think. I get a bunch of these. I like wearing them. A lot of times I wear these to church in the summertime. You'll see me wearing this and shorts, because this is apparel I'm relaxed in, right? Take the Monday off, Dresden. I might. So, like I said, it seems what I'm up to. Like I said, I like doing these shows, and we're 15 minutes in. This is gonna be a long one, so buckle up, buckle up. um, Alias, no, you don't want that shit. It's like that shirt, but it's the same. Nico hates it. Good. I'm glad you hate it. I'm glad you hate it. I'm gonna wear I might only from this point forward, I might only wear Hawaiian shirts or printed shirts of some sort. I've got some real boomer shirts. I have some real boomer shirts. I got shirts with nothing but muscle cars all over them. Um, I've got one with World War II aircraft carriers and warplanes taking off of them. Oh, I've got ones with I've worn it before, the one with the motorcycles on them. Dude, you haven't look, born in the wrong era, I guess. I don't know. And Blaine's in here too. Welcome, Blaine. Ailey said the friendship can be a slippery slope. Talking from experience, that's why the Bible, God warns about it. Yes, there are friendships in the Bible between man and woman, but like there has to be a lot of chastity behind it, and it is a slippery slope if you're not. And like I said, there's appropriate levels of friendship, and I think that's what we'll get with it, where we'll get into it. But yeah, if you're a person of the world at all, you know that close friendships, um, with people that are unguarded, um, and people that you know are complacent about it. Complacency is always a big part of the opening point of the sin. Um, are oftentimes lead into bad situations. But I'll get into a little bit because me and my wife, we actually started off as friends, and now we're married. We've been married for 14 years. And that's great. So, but yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Glad to see you, Blaine's Escape Corner. Personally, I'm here. Personally, I believe there can be, but I have met people who disagree and people unable to get over the opposite gender thing. Yes, and hey, Stuart, I really hate Red Sox stars. I don't believe you, Nico. I don't think that's a genuine comment. Because if you didn't like them, you wouldn't put me in them in pictures. And no, I don't have pineapples on pizza. I have pineapple on pizza ever. And if you want me to look up the Levitical law, we'll do it right now. Hawaiian shirts should be the only shirts. That hat though, wife got me the hat. I'm actually a big guy. I love hat. I've got a lot of hats, a lot of trucker hats. Not traditional trucker hats, but like trucks, like Kenworth, Peterbilt, like those brand hats. I've got a straw cowboy hat that I love to wear. I like wearing hats. Haven't gone bald yet. It's a mess right now because I've been wearing a hat and I'm sweating. Blaine, have some button ups and put those to shame. Look, they might be on point. They might even be a little bit better, but they ain't gonna put this to shame, especially when I'm wearing it. Yeah, I'm sweating, dude. It is. I had a buddy of mine, real good guy, came over, and we are putting in a mini split. I'm getting the Nick Rekieta edition Mitsubishi mini split up in here, and it's gonna cool things off. Hopefully I don't lose power. I'm having the window unit I have in this room right now is on its last leg, and when it tries to spool up, sometimes every once in a while it'll blow the breaker. So it's time for it to go. Whew. My hat says dunce. I'm very happy with the results. Interesting. I'll wear one tonight on stream. I might sneak over there. I've been catching up on the Rekieta stream from last night, and it's an absolute train wreck. How far along am I in there? Let's look. I'm only halfway through. I'm a little bit more than halfway through. I'm at 3.5 hours in there, and it's a train wreck. Like the guest he's a weirdo. That whole I have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of opinions um, on that, and it's just irritating. So I might just forego much of that because it looks like the actual interview portion is wrapping up, and sneak on over to your stream, Blaine. Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't take very much. It doesn't take very much, Blaine, to see the two. He checks a lot of boxes. He checks a lot of boxes that are for red flags for me on somebody that I'm not going to get along with, not somebody I share a lot of commonality with, and just generally a person I would avoid, unless they said, "Hey, I want to be I'm interested in Christianity because I want to become one. Tell me what it's all about." But I think that a lot of their personal opinions and politics are going to get in the way of what God's word says, and they suffer from the conceit. He suffers from the conceit that many of us do um, on it. Yes, Dresden. That's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about. I was listening to the stream in question that they were talking about. I catch them on the back end, especially when I'm driving. Especially when I'm driving, I catch him on the back end because I'm not staying up that late. That dude is Nick is insane for staying up that late. I mean, I get it, um, and it makes it kind of easier for me to listen to it because it's like it's there in the morning. It's like, oh, okay, pop it in there. Sometimes it's just wrapping up, but yeah, it was kind of a train wreck. It made I just got angry listening to it because the views and opinions that people share and have sometimes, and not say that they can't that there are that views and expressions, because like I said, because free speech is a hefty burden, and it is supposed to protect our freedom to be Christians in this country. um you know People say some weird things and believe in some weird things, and some of them I think are very dangerous. And I think many ideas are conducive to the degradation of our of the fabric of society. um, and it's because we covered up a lot of sin that we did, and by chasing wholesomeness instead of slowing down and trying to take the careful approach uh, to righteousness. I mean, we think about what wholesome TV was back in the 50s and 60s. What was going on? There was a lot of stuff going on back then that was against what God teaches, how God teaches us to be, right? And it's not just a civil rights thing. It's how we were handling things, sin when it came up. It was a lot of covering things up, and this goes back years. This is not just a 50s and 60s things. It's just an easy era to point to. You go back and you find out, a lot of people were doing bad things, and nobody was really holding anybody accountable to it. Just the stuff that was going out in the open. At least that's what it appears to be. And who knows? Sorry, guys. I'm really thirsty, and I don't know why. Other than the fact that I'm hot. I'm going to turn the oscillating fan on in a minute. All right. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, so glad to have you all here. Glad to have you tuning in. Let's finish up Judges. So last night was a little weird, right? Get ready. Get ready, because it's going to go. It's going to get weird. Maybe not get. Well, yeah, it's going to get weirder. It's going to get weirder. Let's see. Tab. There we go. All right. Oh, an alias, Hair Braggart. Can't wait for you to turn in for Samuel because your redemption arc is coming, right? Your redemption arc is coming, and it's a great one. It's a great part of the Bible too, just because it's almost slapstick comedy. It's kind of dark humor too. So, all right. Chapter 19 of Judges, a Levite and his concubine. In those, and we start off, we've moved from and again Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord to in those days Israel had no king. Israel need no king. Now a Levite who lived in a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim took a concubine from Oh no, Nath is gonna miss this one. Dang it. He was talking about this last night. Now, a Levite who lived in a remote area of the hill country of Ephraim took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, but she was unfaithful to him. She left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem. Ah, okay. She went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem, Judah. After she had been there 4 months, her husband went to her to persuade her to return. He had with him his servant and 2 donkeys. She took him into her parents' home. When her father saw him, he gladly welcomed him. His father-in-law, the woman's father, prevailed on him to stay, so he remained with him for 3 days, eating and drinking and sleeping there. All right. So he's got a concubine, and I guess there's some wifely titles that go along with it because we're seeing him refer to the concubine's dad as his father-in-law. She was unfaithful, but he took a woman from Bethlehem to be his wife or to be his concubine, but she was unfaithful to him, and I guess she left. She left and went back to her parents, and then he came back to get her back. And so he's staying there while I guess they're trying to reconcile of some sort. Reconcile back then is probably much different from what we think about reconciling today. It's basically, woman, get back here. On the 4th day, they got up early, and he prepared to leave. But the woman's father said to his son-in-law, refresh yourself with something to eat, then you can go. So the 2 of them sat down to eat and drink together. Afterward, the woman's father said, please, stay tonight and enjoy yourself. And when the man got up to go, his father-in-law persuaded him, so he stayed there that night. On the morning of the 5th day, when he rose to go, the woman's father said, refresh yourself. Wait till afternoon. So the 2 of them ate together. This is very odd. Of course, maybe hospitality's big, right? They're supposed to be hospitable. Stay, come on, stay. Maybe they're getting along. Who knows? Then, when the man with his concubine and his servant got up to leave, his father-in-law, the woman's father, said, now look, it's almost evening. Spend the night here. The day is nearly over. Stay and enjoy yourself. Early tomorrow morning, you can get up and be on your way home. But unwilling to stay another night, the man left and went towards Jebus, that is, Jerusalem, with his 2 saddled donkeys and his concubine. When they were near Jebus and the day was almost gone, the servant said to his master, come, let's stop at the city of the Jebusites and spend the night. And his master replied, no, we won't go into any city whose people are not Israelites. We will go on to Gibeah. He added, come, let's try to reach Gibeah or Ramah and spend the night in one of those places. So they went on, and the sun set as they neared Gibeah and Benjamin. There, they stopped to spend the night. Okay, so he didn't stay with the Jebusites. We aren't even supposed to be there. Let's remember, they're not even supposed to be there. There, they stopped to spend the night. They went and sat in the city square, but no one took them in for the night. Awful. Maybe there's no vacancies, right? Maybe it's peak vacation time in Gibeah, and or they have a convention of goat herders in there, or wine crushers in there. Maybe the local union is meeting, and there's just no rooms. That evening, an old man from the hill country of Ephraim, who was living in Gibeah, the inheritance of the place were Benjamites, came in from his work in the fields. When he looked and saw the traveler in the city square, the old man asked, "Where are you going? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?" He answered, "We are on our way from Bethlehem in Judah to a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim where I live. I have been to Bethlehem in Judah, and now I am going to the house of the Lord. No one has taken me in for the night. We have both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for ourselves, your servant, me, the woman, and the young man with us. We don't need anything. You are welcome at my house," the old man said. "Let me supply whatever you need. Only don't spend the night in the square." So he took him into his house and fed his donkeys. After they had washed their feet, they had something to eat and drink. There you go. While they were enjoying themselves, some of the wicked men of the city surrounded the house. Pounding on the door, they shouted to the old man who owned the house, "Bring out the man who came to your house so we can have sex with him." This took an outrageous turn. All right, so we got some bandits out there, I guess, or some wicked men of the city, just evil people. Just show up to this house, maybe because they know there's an outsider there. Bring out the man who came to your house so we can have sex with him. This sounds a lot like Lot's situation with the two angels. Only one problem. Old man's not Lot, and the man is not an angel. The owner of the house went outside and said to them, "No, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this outrageous thing. Look, here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing." But the men would not listen to him. So the man took his concubine and set her outside to them, and they raped her and abused her throughout the night, and at dawn they let her go. At daybreak, the woman went back to the house where her master was staying, fell down at the door, and lay there until daylight. Whew. That was an odd turn. I mean, the same thing happens again with Lot. Hey, take my virgin daughter, take this concubine, don't rape the man. So the men would not listen. So the man said, "Okay, well, here's my concubine." And they had their way with her. Very abrupt. When her master got up in the morning and opened the door of the house and stepped out to continue on his way, there lay his concubine, fallen in the doorway of the house with her hands on the threshold. He said to her, "Get up, let's go." But there was no answer. Then the man put her on his donkey and set out for home. When he reached home, he took a knife, cut up his concubine limb by limb into 12 parts, and sent them to all the areas of Israel. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, "Such a thing has never been seen or done, not since the day the Israelites came out of Egypt. Just imagine. We must do something. So speak up." Yeah. All right. Jephthah and Jephthah's daughter. This one's another weird one too. So let me see. Let's do some research while on stream and try to see what we can find out. We're seeing Gibeah a lot. This is not the first time we've had problems with Gibeah, right? Nico, wait, what? Why is the stranger man important? Why is the strange man more important than the woman, including his own daughter? Very good question. So here's something I pulled up. The 3 remaining chapters of this book contain a most tragical story of the wickedness of the men of Gibeah, patronized by the tribe of Benjamin, meaning they fell under Benjamin, for which that tribe was severely chastised and almost entirely cut off by the rest of the tribes. This seems to have been done not long after the death of Joshua, for it was when there was no king, no judge in Israel, and Phinehas was then high priest. Okay, so we haven't gotten to that point yet. Maybe we'll read the rest of the chapter to find out. But here, we're going back in time a bit, just like we did with Micah and his idol. So this is why I think judges should this is why it makes more sense to me in my brain that this should be the order of this should be switched around. But this is how they wrote it, right? But it would make more sense to end Judges on Samson and move 19 through 21 into the middle of Judges or at the beginning of Judges somewhere. But remember, wicked things are going at that point, wicked things are going on. If there's no judge in Judah and there's no king yet and Joshua's dead, guess what? Israelites aren't doing something good. The Israelites aren't doing something good. So, all right. So let's go back to the read. Let me get back to the reading then. But what happens is we don't understand why he does what he did. At least we haven't figured that out yet. But he does cut her up into 12 parts, and send them to all the different parts of Israel, presumably all the 12 tribes, right? And then everybody is shocked and says that they need to do something about it. I guess we can say 13 tribes because the Levites are everywhere. So they would have gotten all of it. So, chapter 20 is the Israelites punish the Benjamites. Before we start, Alias, I can see how stories like this freak out unbelievers, but you have to listen to the whole thing and to put into context, and even then, still not fully maybe understand. I am just clay. No, I get that's right. This is a thing, and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing the Bible read through this way. Not just because it's always helpful, but it also reminds you that people like to take a verse and take it out of context because it says something in that verse that speaks to them, but they don't read the whole passage to find out where it's coming from or understand where in the timeline of things why they're speaking that way. It doesn't necessarily mean what they're trying to mean it to. Find the modernist, and you'll find people reading one verse at a time. All over the place, just picking and choosing what verses they want to read, and that's really true. And you got to remember, look, a lot of bad things happen back then. All right, and yeah, talk to text and say it's all right, Alias. I knew what you meant what I knew. Nico, so he went out all the way for a concubine so that he can have revenge and make an example out of her. That's there's yeah, I guess, and that's one way to take it too. That's what it feels like. It's like, or kind of he blames her. It's like, we never would have been in this situation if you haven't run off on me in the first place. So now I'm just done with you, right? I'm just done with you. I'm not going to get raped over this whole thing. You can deal with it. I feel like there's just like with Jephthah, I feel like there's a cultural thing that I'm missing out of this. There's more to it than just that, but maybe let's find out. Let's see if there's more going on here, and let's see it once we finish if we can't figure this out. Solve this riddle. The Israelites punished the Benjamites. Then all Israel from Dan to Beersheba and the land and from the land of Gilead came together as one and assembled before the Lord in Mizpah. All right. Everybody's getting together. The leaders of all the people of the tribes of Israel took their places in the assembly of God's people, 400,000 men armed with swords. The Benjamites heard that the Israelites had gone up to Mizpah. Then the Israelites said, "Tell us how this awful thing happened." So the Levite, the husband of the murdered woman, said, "I and my concubine came to Gibeah in Benjamin to spend the night. During the night, the men of Gibeah came after me and surrounded the house, intending to kill me. They raped my concubine, and she died." Okay. this is very matter-of-factly the way all this is taking place, and kind of where we read things yesterday or in the last chapter too. It might have been that they really were getting ready to pound down the door, come through the windows, or do whatever. They raped my concubine and she died. But that's not exactly, there's bits and pieces he's left out of this. I took my concubine, cut her into pieces, and sent one piece to each region of Israel's. Hang on, let's go back real quick. Sounds like she might have already been dead. He said to her, get up, let's go," but there was no answer. The woman went back to the house where her master was staying, fell down at the door, and lay there until daylight. She doesn't say anything. She'd fallen down there, no answer, but it doesn't say she's dead. Maybe she doesn't live through the experience. Don't know. Not at this point yet. They raped my concubine and she died. I took my concubine, cut her into pieces, and sent one piece to each region of Israel's inheritance, because they committed this lewd and outrageous act in Israel. Now, all of you Israelites, speak up and tell me what you have decided to do. All the men rose up together as one, saying, "None of us will go home. No, not one of us will return to his house. But now this is what we'll do to Gibeah. We'll go up against it in the order decided by casting lots." Lots. Triggered. We'll take 10 men out of every 100 from all the tribes of Israel, and 100 from 1,000, and 1,000 from 10,000 to get provisions for the army. Then, when the army arrives at Gibeah in Benjamin, it can give them what they deserve for this outrageous act done in Israel. So all the Israelites got together and united as one against the city. The tribes of Israel sent messengers throughout the tribe of Benjamin, saying, "What about this awful crime that was committed among you? Now turn those wicked men in Gibeah over to us, so that we may put them to death and purge the evil from Israel." Okay. Getting the posse together. I feel like God is absent of this, and this is all on the husband and on concubines. I think in some case, I think that there's no good guy, or there's a significant distinct lack of a good guy, because we're not seeing God's involvement. We didn't see that here. Interestingly enough, and maybe it's a point of consistency, we don't see it on we don't see it with Jephthah in his account either, with that part when he did those things. So it's very interesting to see. Like once he wins and he goes out and does all that stuff, we don't really hear from God. And if this is a point where they are ignoring God, and maybe God has, is starting to back away from them, there we go. But wait, maybe he hasn't. Maybe he hasn't left them completely. But the Benjamites would not listen to their fellow Israelites. From their towns, they came together at Gibeah to fight against the Israelites. So we got some infighting here, civil war. At once, the Benjamites mobilized 26,000 swordsmen from their towns, in addition to 700 able young men from those living in Gibeah. Among all these soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed. My men. Each of whom could sling a stone at a hare and not miss. At a hare, they're talking about a rabbit. But it's spelled hair as in like strands of hair. I don't know. They're accurate. Let's do it at that. Israel, apart from Benjamin, mustered 400,000 swordsmen, all of them fit for battle. 400,000 versus 26,000. Unless you're in Chosen Reservoir, I don't like those odds. if I'm the Benjamites. So the Israelites went up to Bethel and inquired of God. They said, "Who of us is to go up first and fight against the Benjamites?" The Lord replied, "Judah shall go first." explain. Notice one is called fit for battle and the others are left-handed. No, I think select troops, special troops, special elite troops, left-handed. Okay. What it's saying is able-bodied young men, swordsmen. Left-handed is all he needed to say to right the wrongs, to right. Wait, hold on. Left-handed, that's all he needed to say to right the rights of a wrong world. Oh, I think your text-to-speech is messaging. Right the rights of a wrong world. Lefties, master race. Left-handed people, master race. Those are some shaky hermeneutics. I never say that right. Hermeneutics. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe he should have inquired of God. Still laughing at Blaine. Maybe he should have inquired of God long before the concubine ended up dead. I mean, it's a truly horrific situation. He didn't make the right. I don't think he made the right decision. But at the same time, women are not respected as much, and you'll often find that when Israel's in a bad place, they really aren't respected well, in Israelite culture. So she's a concubine. She's not even a real wife. So she's closer to property than anybody else. He didn't send a servant out there though. They could have been. I mean, if they were asking about the master, they might have been just as interested as the servant. He didn't throw the servant out there. He threw the concubine. But like I said, Israel's not in a good place right now. But they asked the God, and God responded as he does. The next morning, the Israelites got up and pitched camp near Gibeah. The Israelites went out to fight the Benjamites and took up battle positions against them in Gibeah. The Benjamites came out of Gibeah and cut down 22,000 Israelites on the battlefield that day. Whew. But the Israelites encouraged one another and again took up their positions where they had stationed themselves the first day. The Israelites went up and wept before the Lord until evening, and they inquired of the Lord. They said, "Shall we go up again to fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites?" The Lord answered, "Go up against them." Alias, left-handed people are the only ones in their right minds, and the Lord knew that that's why he's created us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alias, knew I liked you. Lord answered, "Go up against them." Yeah. Okay. So now you have been given justification. You've got your hunting license. Then the Israelites drew near to Benjamin the second day. This time, when the Benjamites came out from Gibeah to oppose them, they cut down another 18,000 Israelites, all of them armed with swords. Then all the Israelites, the whole army, went up to Bethel, and there they sat weeping before the Lord. They fasted that day until evening and presented burnt offerings and fellowship offerings to the Lord. And the Israelites inquired of the Lord. In those days, the Ark of the Covenant of God was there, with Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, ministering before it. There we go. So now we know this is not long. This is not long after Joshua's gone. They asked, "Shall we go up again to fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites, or not?" The Lord responded, "Go, for tomorrow I will give them into your hands." There we go. So what do we see here? All right. First, they muster everything and they go up to Bethel and they talk to God and they go, "Who do you want to go first? Who should go up first?" They're just asking. Doesn't sound. I don't know how reverently they ask, but just asking who should go first. God tells them, "Judah, go first." And then should we keep fighting them? Yeah, keep fighting them. They got their butts kicked both times. They come back this time, burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, offering proper fealty, proper honor, proper respect to God. Go, for tomorrow I will give them into your hands. Should have thought about that before you lost, let's say, 40-some thousand Israelites. Whew, bloody. I got to go back. Israel's not in too bad of a spot if Phinehas is still alive. Well, hold on. Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, ministering before it. Aaron is in the same generation as Moses, which means Joshua would have been the same generation as Eleazar. And when Joshua, okay, so maybe, hang on. You really make it sound like a parent whose kid is bugging them while they're busy watching a game. No, I think it's a parent who's seeing my daughter right now. Problem with her manners. She's going through a phase where she's being very rude. She's not asking for things. She's telling people, do this, give me this, I want this. And no, you don't get it. You don't get it. In fact, you won't get anything now. So I think that's more where I'm coming. That's more of my read through on this. Not that he's being inconvenienced, but more that they're not treating him like a father figure. They're not treating him like God, the Almighty. But who knows? Maybe God's watching the Bears. So, so let's go to the beginning of this. Oh, let's go to the end of Joshua. Israel had served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua. Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him, who had experienced everything the Lord had done for Israel. And Eleazar, son of Aaron, died and was buried at Gibeah. Gibeah, a lot happens out there, which had been allotted to his son Phinehas in the hill country of Ephraim. So this might be right around here. Hang on. After that whole generation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord or what he had done for Israel. So maybe we're in that period right in between there. So we're seeing the beginnings of the fraying of society, the society of Israel. We'll see. Like I said, I feel like this chapter should be somewhere else, but I mean, who am I? Who am I to understand this? Who am I to tell God where to put his infallible word? So then Israel set an ambush around at Gibeah. They went up against the Benjamites on the third day and took up positions against Gibeah as they had done before. No, you're gonna like Bears a lot more after you get to after we get to Samuel. Alias. I think it's Samuel. It could be Elijah or Elisha. One of the two of those too. We'll get there eventually, Alias. The Benjamites came out to meet them and were drawn away from the city. They began to inflict casualties on the Israelites as before, so that about 30 men fell in the open field on the roads, the one leading to Bethel and the other to Gibeah. While the Benjamites were saying, we are defeating them as before. They sound like what's his face in Guardians of the Galaxy. We are defeating them as before. The Israelites were saying, let's retreat and draw them away from the city to the roads. All the men of Israel moved from their places and took up positions at Baal Tamar. And the Israelite ambush charged out of its place on the west of Gibeah. Then 10,000 of Israel's able young men made a frontal attack on Gibeah. The fighting was so heavy that the Benjamites did not realize how near disaster was. The Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel, and on that day the Israelites struck down 25,100 Benjamites, all armed with swords. Then the Benjamites saw that they were beaten. That's almost all of them. That's almost all of them. Bless me, please. I'm gonna stop this talking to text. Just don't work. Yeah, it's horrible. If you've got Apple CarPlay, like when I'm trying to when I'm responding to text messages with CarPlay, it never does it right, and I get so mad at Siri. Um, then the Benjamites saw that they were beaten. Yeah, when there were none of y'all left. Okay. Now the men of Israel had given way before Benjamin because they relied on the ambush, and they had set near the Gibeah. Those who had been in ambush made a sudden dash to Gibeah, spread out, and put the whole city to the sword. The Israelites had arranged with the ambush that they should send up a great cloud of smoke from the city, and then the Israelites would counterattack. The Benjamites had begun to inflict casualties on the Israelites, about 30, and they said, "We are defeating them as in the first battle." But when the column of smoke began to rise from the city, the Benjamites turned and saw the whole city was going up in smoke. Then the Israelites counterattacked, and the Benjamites were terrified because they had realized that disaster had come on them. So they fled before the Israelites in the direction of the wilderness, but they could not escape the battle. And the Israelites who came out of the towns cut them down there. They surrounded the Benjamites, chased them, and easily overran them in the vicinity of Gibeah on the east. 18,000 Benjamites fell, all of them valiant fighters. As they turned and fled towards the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, the Israelites cut down 5,000 men along the roads. They kept pressing after the Benjamites. As far as Gidom and struck down 2,000 more. So we were putting around. That's where we're getting that 20. We're getting that 20,000. On that day, 25,000 Benjamite swordsmen fell, all of them valiant fighters. But 600 of them turned and fled into the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, where they stayed 4 months. The men of Israel went back to Benjamin and put all the towns to the sword, including the animals and everything else they found. All the towns they came across, they set on fire. They were pissed. Gone it. I named my kid Samuel. I love this book. Books plural. There's 2 of them. Did you name your kid 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel? So yeah. So Benjamin got its tail annihilated. But whew, man, if they did not give as good as they got beforehand. Daggone. Chapter 21. The men of Israel had taken an oath at Mizpah. This is before the battle. Not one of us will give his daughter in marriage to a Benjamite. The people went to Bethel, where they sat before the Lord until evening, raising their voices and weeping bitterly. Lord, God of Israel, they cried, why has this happened to Israel? Why should one tribe be missing from Israel today? Early the next day, the people built an altar and presented burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then the Israelites asked, who from all the tribes of Israel has failed to assemble before the Lord? For they had taken a solemn oath that anyone who failed to assemble before the Lord at Mizpah was to be put to death. To death. Now the Israelites grieved for the tribe of Benjamin, their fellow Israelites. Today, one tribe is cut off from Israel, they said. How can we provide wives for those who are left, since we have taken an oath by the Lord not to give any of our daughters, give them any of our daughters in marriage? Then they asked, which one of the tribes of Israel failed to assemble before the Lord at Mizpah? They discovered that no one from Jabesh Gilead had come to be the camp for the assembly. For when they counted the people, they found that none of the people from Jabesh Gilead were there. So the assembly sent 12,000 fighting men with instructions to go to Jabesh Gilead and put to the sword those living there, including the women and children. This is what you are to do, they said. Kill every male and every woman who is not a virgin. They found among the people living in Jabesh Gilead 400 young women who had never slept with a man, and they took them to the camp at Shiloh in Canaan. Then the whole assembly, whew, dang. This is very interesting how this is a look into Israelite politics and how they're guided by instruction, and how a lot of times they're doing, what they want. Then the whole assembly sent an offer of peace to the Benjamites at the rock of Rimmon. So the Benjamites returned and that at that time and were given the women of Jabesh Gilead who had been spared. But there were not enough for all of them. Yeah, because there was only 400 women and 600 dudes. The people grieved for Benjamin because the Lord had made a gap in the tribes of Israel. And the elders of this did the Lord do that? Or did the people of Benjamin kind of do that? With the women of Benjamin, look, here's the thing. If Benjamin had given up the evil men of Gilead, none of this would have happened. Whose side was God on? With the women of Benjamin destroyed, how shall we provide wives for the men who are left? The Benjamite survivors must have heirs, they said, so that a tribe of Israel will not be wiped out. We can't give them our daughters as wives, since we Israelites have taken this oath. Cursed be anyone who gives a wife to a Benjamite. But look, there is an annual festival of the Lord in Shiloh, which lies north of Bethel, east of the road that goes from Bethel to Shechem, and south of Lebonah. So they instructed the Benjamites, saying, Go and hide in the vineyards and watch. When the young women of Shiloh come out to join the dancing, rush from the vineyards, and each of you seize one of them to be your wife. Then return to the land of Benjamin. When their fathers or brothers complain to us, we will say to them, do us the favor of helping them, because we did not get wives for them during the war. You will not be guilty of breaking your oath, because you did not give your daughters to them. So that's what the Benjamites did. While the young women were dancing, each man caught one and carried her off to be his wife. Then they returned to their inheritance and rebuilt the towns and settled in them. At that time, the Israelites left that place and went home to their tribes and clans, each to his own inheritance. Here comes the end of Judges. In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit. And it just occurred to me. Let me look at a couple of different translations for this. Let's look at King James. Happy birthday to your son, Alias. Happy birthday to Sam. See if I can do the right happy birthday. When I was 19, I was 17. I enlisted. At 19, just turned 19. It was not long after 9/11. I actually graduated from basic training on my 19th birthday. Yes, on my 19th birthday. And it was weird. It was a weird time, my late teens and early 20s. It was a lot of trying to find myself, because I was not a popular kid in high school. I was a skinny, sarcastic kid with not a lot of confidence in himself. Didn't have any luck with the ladies at all, which only added to my lack of self-confidence. But what was going on at 19 when I turned 19 was I was in the middle of finding myself, finding my confidence, and becoming more. So, doesn't mean I stopped being horrible. I think my greatest sin was still ahead of me, and but it was an interesting part of my coming of age story, my 19th birthday. So no, yeah, I graduated on my birthday. Yeah, I think I graduated on there. So yeah. He was named after his great-great-grandfather and Samuel from the Bible, but he's more like the prodigal son, and I'm trying to be like the father from that scripture. Not an easy task. I mean, look, your kid's 19, you already know nothing about parenting is easy. And it starts to get harder when they start having their own opinions and making their own mistakes. right? Mistakes you may have warned them. They might be making new mistakes. They might be making your mistakes. They might be making mistakes you warned them about and they didn't listen. It's tough. It's tough. But love your kids like God loves you. Make sure your kids know that God loves them like you do and more. Enough that he would send another son out to make a sacrifice for all the rest of the sons and daughters. So, Dresden, I just went out. What has happened, dude? I am not rehashing this. It is a mess. Okay, let me try to give the Cliff Notes version. Let me try to give the Cliff Notes version. Guy has a wife. Guy has a concubine. She goes out and cheats. He goes back to get her. On the way back from getting her from her parents, he is set upon. He's staying with a guy who's offering some hospitality. A bunch of men in the town of Gibeah decide they want to rape him. He sets out the concubine instead. They rape her and maybe kill her. Probably kill her. So rape her and probably kill her. He cuts her up into pieces because she's dead at some point on the return ride home. She's dead at some point, and let's see. Cuts her up, sends her all the tribes of Israel, probably to a substantial place. Everybody in Israel's shocked. They're shocked at what happened to Gibeah, so they go out and they form a very large 400,000 man posse to go out and get the men in Gibeah. The Benjamites, who the Gibeah is part of their land, they come to defend it with 27,000 men, and the Benjamites beat them the first 2 days. Third day, God says, "I'll be with you." To the Israelites beat the Benjamites. They put the whole place to the sword. The whole land of Benjamin apparently to the sword, and then only 600 men are left in Benjamin. I guess that's the impression I get. And they have no wives, and then the Israelites feel bad because they don't want Benjamin not to be without women to carry on their line, but they also took a vow that they weren't going to give their women to the Benjamites. And so they have the so they get some women because somebody didn't show up to the meeting, and that town got put to the sword, and they kept all the virgin women. But that wasn't enough. It was only 400. They had 600 men of Benjamin, and then and so that for the other 200, or because they wanted more wives, they said, okay, so we're not going to give them to you, but we're going to have a festival out here. If you want to just take them, we're not really giving them to you, but if you take them, that'll be okay. This is an absolute mess. So the beginning of this whole thing at 19, and it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel, ... insert ellipse. Now, because we're reading from we're reading from King James Version. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. I'm going to jump a little bit ahead in Samuel. Who is Israel's king in the time of Judges? If you know the book, if you know Samuel, you know what I'm talking about. God is king of Israel. God is king in Israel. He has the Ark of the Covenant is there. They're not treating God like he's king. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Sounds to me like it's telling us the answer right there. So is this Israelites' case for a king? it might be their case for a king, but what Judges is basically saying is, no, you're not respecting God. You're not going to respect the king either, and the king is not going to respect. We're jumping into Samuel, and we'll revisit that. One of y'all, if I don't bring it up, one of y'all remind me. The end of Judges answers a lot of problems that happened to Israel afterwards. It illustrates it right here at the very end of Judges. After it said it at the beginning of 19, here at the end of 21, it's solid, guys. There's no getting past it. And us folks who like a limited government and like people having as much leeway to do what they can and do what they want, responsible, and assuming everybody needs to be responsible about how they do it. If you take God out of the equation, that crap is what you get. And worse. You see how we've taken God out of much of our society. It's gotten worse. You see how we misrepresent his word and his commands in some denominations. Look at where they're at. It's total depravity. It's total degeneracy. And it's an absolute mess. All right. Let me go up a little bit better. Alias, thank you, Haas. No problem, man. I was 19 and an ass as well. He's confused and lost, and I'm just trying to be solid for him. There you go. There you go. It's a tough time. It's a tough time. Just remind him. Be there as my opinion, and this is me with a 9-year-old. So I'm 10 years behind you. Me with a 9-year-old. That you care about him, that people around there care about them, that there is a place for him when he needs it. Tell him not to act on impulses, things that might cause him damage later on in his life. Right? There's always redemption. But try not to test it so much. So, hey, Dresden, I'm 21. The best thing I have in life was a good family. Yeah. Me too as well. You know, my family is flawed. My family has their problems. I'm talking about my immediate family has their flaws. My brother was the best friend. My brother is the best friend I never knew I had as a kid. He's got his personality quirks, but they're very minor. He's an honorable dude. Got nothing but love and respect for him. He took a lot of my crap. And I took a lot of my frustration and selfishness out on him when we were growing up because I was bigger and stronger than him. And I have apologized for that many times. And we still have our arguments. We still have our fights because we're an argumentative bunch. But I love him to death. So there you go. My parents, they've got their personality quirks. It's difficult sometimes. But when I need them, they're there. And all I have to do is ask for help if I need it, and they'd be there. So, hey, let's thank you, Dresden. He knows he's loved, but he has a lot of pressure on the outside. That's tough. And I don't know where that's coming from. Don't need to know. It's just he has to be able to learn how to deal with that pressure. So that's all the smart boy needs, his dad to be there. And I think you already solid at that. Congrats to your boy. I know it's not an easy time. I know it's not easy, but time will help heal. Amen. He loves some more than I do, and I love him more than anything. This darn talk to text. He knows I love him more than anything except for God, and he knows that I'm just a real slow texter, so I have to speak. But it seems like it's not worth it. I should just text. Speak. I'm a much better writer than I am a speaker because I have time to put my thoughts together much better. But it's easier to speak with somebody. You lose context. You lose emotion in text. A handwritten letter is better than text because there's some, I don't know, there's something personal about a handwritten letter. But speaking is best. Now, he might not appreciate that right now. It's harder, but especially with this generation, we've all got our noses stuck in our phones. And he probably grew up with everybody around him, if not himself, also doing that. But he'll appreciate it. I'm a very good writer. Dresden. Back in 2015, my brother was diagnosed with CRMO. At the same time, my parents split up, but after the lowest I felt in my life, it helped me realize how much family matters. Does. I don't know what CRMO is, but I hope he's doing all right. He's doing all right. 7 years later. Yeah, I saw my parents are still together. They've been together. I came around about a year after they got married. Lots of fighting, a lot of fighting over me because I was a terrible kid in elementary school, like very bad. Very bad. It's but they stayed together. But as we came out of that and we came through that, we saw a lot of division within my family, not about my peripheral family, where people didn't talk to each other. And we already had family that didn't talk to each other. It's a difficult thing to see go on around you. When you see somebody who doesn't talk to their brother or their sister anymore. And you see that in a lot of places and a lot of division right in front of you. So tell my kids the same thing. I tell my kids the same thing my dad told me and my brother. Nobody's going to be more related to you than your sibling. It's full-blooded sibling, the same blood, same parents. Nobody's going to be more closely related. Take that for what it's worth. Hold each other close. Look out for each other. Family is important. Family is important to the Israelites. Family is important to God. God gives us families for a reason. There's a lot of, and maybe I'm not, maybe I'm out of line. Maybe I'm not standing on firm theological ground. But and there's a lot of people out there who says that we won't know who each other are, who each other are, who we are. We won't know, be able to tell each other apart in heaven, right? That we start anew or whatever. There's a lot of people who say that. I don't think so. I could be wrong. Again, I'm open to being wrong, but what I get is God gave us families for a reason. God gives you a spouse for a reason. And I think that's there to convey that it's important. It's not just important here, but it's important for the next phase. We see in the Old Testament, men go and die to go and are gathered to their ancestors, their family, right? There's going to be a whole lot more people that we know, and hopefully as many people that we know now. So, Dresden, how that relates to me right now is uncanny. My wife was just diagnosed with a very serious disease. I hope she's okay. I hope everything is going well with that. I pray that is okay. My son is dealing with his own contemplations of life and is falling away from the church. watching it happen in real life. Yeah. Um Teenage years is a year that late teens, early 20s. A lot of time it's like you said, the prodigal son. You go away, you go off and do your thing. Eventually you need to return. Eventually you need to return. And if if he's falling away from the church should be making an effort to reel him back in. Not with chastisement, not with condescension, with love and support, and let him know, look, it's a confusing time. Um, but we're here for you, man. We're here for you. We want you to stay. We want you to work through this with us and be part of this group. That's what I would say if it was somebody, one of my friend's kids, right, who was dealing with this. And I wonder. I know a lot of kids at our church who are just great. They're just absolutely awesome kids. But how many of them, which one of them, will end up in your son's shoes? Because odds are it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to more than one. I don't want it to. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see those kids in that position. But we all go through a trial. We all go through a gauntlet, um, in different ways. Mine wasn't pretty, but I got through it relatively unscathed. Um, got through it relatively unscathed, but not without regret. Not without regret, not without guilt, not without sorrow, but with a lot of it, with a lot of knowledge and experience to help me better tackle and be good um, going forward. Um, to look back and go, I was really bad back here, but look at where I'm at now. Wife's a big part of that. Wife's a big part of making me better. Kids are a big part of making me even better than that. So my job for them is to try to keep them um, from as much of this as possible. Try to prepare them as much as be like, no, Dad told me this, but they could say, Dad doesn't know shit, because maybe that's where they're at in life. I don't know. I don't know. Alias, you're in a tough spot. Sounds like your son's in a tough spot. God loves you both. God's will be done, and he's just gotta. At some point, he's just gotta just reach out to God and his family. If you're there, hopefully he doesn't. He doesn't miss what you're trying to help him with. So blessings to him. I don't know whatever he's going through, whatever. I mean, we've all been through things, right? Some of us fall, some of us stumble, some of us roll right past it. We've all met the person. I know I'm very good friends with one, the guy who can just sail through it. Not that he didn't try, not that it didn't take a lot of effort, not that he wasn't tested, but some people got their act together. And then some of us, like myself, haven't. So there we go. Alias, love you, man. Nico, love you, guy. Love you. Dresden, love you. Blaine, who's probably streaming right now because we're going over to an hour and a half. Love you. I think that's most of the guys group. And I miss Weeb being able to make it in and day out. I miss Weeb showing up. Anyway, gotta tell him, I was like, please tune in more. It's a better stream when he's here. Nernath, let's all give a shout out to Nernath, who wanted to be here for this one, for the Halderson chapters, and wasn't able to make it. Hopefully he picks it up on the back end. Well, this stream turned dark. This stream was kind of dark from the outset. The stream was trying to kind of dark from the outset, but you'll see. All you guys. All right. Y'all have a good rest of the evening. Okay. Have a good rest of the evening. You guys stay safe for the rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. Nice long weekend. And next time we get together, I miss when we had actual ladies in the chat. Yeah, I need to find out what that's all about. There's two ladies who sometimes, and I think catch on the backside of the stream, but they comment on Facebook that there was my wife tearing me apart. So I'm here finishing prep. Thanks for the stream. Yeah. You guys have a good weekend. Enjoy your long weekend. Like I said, be safe. And yeah. See you on the back end. All right. Have a good week, guys. And Alias, or for the more biblically versed, verily, verily, I say to you. He didn't assume your gender, Dresden. They just assumed that you weren't a lady. All right, guys. Have a good night, and God bless.